Uncle Tadu, Congress and how much for time? Rondo, Cohen is for Donald, Donald, Anzo, Wano, the Tongi, Sungi, Sala, Tebu, the Tita, around Thomas, some nearby and the young Papa.
There are indeed beings as numerous as space and vast, an inconceivable number of beings who invariably, all of them, not a single one excluded, have been our kind mothers and fathers, etc. in the past. If we were to look at all of these beings, whom by all means we owe a debt of gratitude for all the kindness, for all the love and affection that they have shown us, then we would see that since time beginnings they have been immersed in the ocean of suffering. We could therefore make it our motivation, and by all means should make it our motivation, to listen to Dharma instructions with the intention at heart to establish all of these beings who have been our kind fathers, mothers, etc. in the awakening of Buddha. This is the motivation that we should give rise to whenever we concern ourselves with Dharma activity, particularly as we are sitting down now to listen to Dharma instructions. As Kamachaka says, it is not a single thing, for it arises in manifold ways. It is also not manifold because all of this variety has a single essence. So if we were to examine this consciousness of ours, we would see it manifest in all sorts of different ways, as happiness, as suffering, as depression, as bliss, many different ways in which it manifests itself, and it always seems to be different. So we have that impression, we could possibly have the impression that it is many different things, or that it manifests in many different and manifold ways. However, if we were to look at these properly, closely, we will also see that consciousness, for that matter, is not manifold, is not multiple, is not a multiplicity. For whatever it is, or in whichever way it is that it manifests itself, all of these various kinds of manifestations, all the different ways in which we could possibly perceive or experience it, have a single essence, which is one and the same for all of them. Rinpoche goes on to say, no one knows how to describe its essence. Speaking, of course, about mind nature. Its essence cannot be described in any words. There are no characteristics in any which way that we could possibly use to describe what the essence of mind nature itself is. Therefore, it was the Buddha who said, the unspeakable, the unthinkable, the ungraspable is perfect awareness, perfectly virtuous awareness. That is that which we know as prajna paramita, or the transcendent virtue of awareness or wisdom for that. That is all encompassed, that is all included within that what we could possibly try to call mind nature. If one were to describe it with analogies, we would never ever find an end to doing so. There's many terms, synonyms that would be possibly used to describe it, such as the commonly known names as mind, consciousness, self, all ground, etc. So if we by all means wish to describe mind nature or consciousness, still whatever description we would come up with would not be sufficient. It would not always encompass everything there is or everything that is potentially there. We would always just describe a part or an aspect of it with these commonly known names such as mind, consciousness, etc., self for that matter. But that would not really cover all of it, that would not tell the whole story. So if we were to begin to approach some sort of an explanation of it, that is all nice and well and could be done, but it would never ever tell everything.
Ein Mann ist anderer Meinung, zum ersten Mal. Obwohl er am meisten gearbeitet hat.
So indeed, there are many different terms which we could possibly use to describe consciousness or mind nature, which are yet again different terms in use, such as self, alaya, all ground, or whatever. But when it comes down to it, or in truth, it is just our present awareness or our present understanding of it. So whatever words we would use, as has been said before, they would never ever be able to describe the whole picture, so to speak, to tell the whole story. They would always only give us an idea of a certain aspect, but not of the entirety, since that is and forever remains totally indescribable. However, as it is, that which we call, however we wish to describe it, is the very basis, or the very root, as it says here, for everything there is, both in samsara as well as in nirvana. This last line that we have just heard, this in itself is the root of all samsara and nirvana. Should be the last line of Kamachaka's teachings that Rinpoche teaches this year. With this, Rinpoche would like to conclude the official teaching for this year's summer course and leave it at that. Next year, when we continue with the text where we leave off today, we will then continue with the description of how this very, whatever, this root of everything in root of samsara is potentially both the root or the cause for the attainment of Buddhahood or our falling into lower rungs. All of that and more we will begin next year. In the course of these sessions, both mornings and afternoons, we have also been made familiar with the various methods to practice, to train ourselves in the techniques of both shamatha meditation in order to bring about a quiet, peaceful state of mind, as well as the various methods of looking at mind nature, or nature of all appearances and phenomena for that matter itself, which is commonly known as vipassana or lakta meditation. Now these are of course meant, these meditation techniques, these practices, they are meant to be employed, they are meant to be applied, call it whatever which way you want. You are supposed to practice them, to meditate. not only waits until the moment of death is upon you, because then it will be too late. You have to practice in your lifetime whenever you have the opportunity to do so. So also please use these practices, take them home with you,
Und wenn
and
das
apply
nicht
them
könnt, zieht
whenever you're
etwas von
able.
hier ab.
As the Lord of Yogans Milarepa had said to his main student, Jegan, even if you have recognized mind nature fully, even if you've fully recognized and fully realized it, without fail, always supplicate the Vajramaster, who is your guru. Never ever abandon the Vajramaster, who is your guru. So this is what is to be done. Even if we had an inkling of what mind nature is all about, even if we had even a realization of it, we still ought to address ourselves with gratitude, with appreciation, by way of supplication, prayer, etc. and so forth, to the Guru, who is the Vajramaster. And he continues to say, even if mind nature is realized, never ever abandon the path of the accumulation of the stocks of merit. So even though one should have a realization of mind nature, even though one would rest in this realization in a stable way, in any which time, at any given time, in any which situation, this does not mean that we can abandon the accumulation of merit, that we can abandon virtuous deeds which bring about merits for the sake of others. So even though our realization may be as high as the sky, we still ought to train ourselves in these accumulations. Even though we might have realized that cause and effect is nothing other but a manifestation of our consciousness, still we ought to be extremely careful about negative deeds. So we might have brought about this high realization. We might have come to understand everything that appears and exists as being inherently empty, free of any self-nature whatsoever. Still, that does not mean that this is a license to misbehave. Cause and effect will continue to be cause and effect and to bring about various results. Therefore, even with a high realization, even if we should have brought that about, we ought to guard against even the smallest misstep. Even if meditation and post-meditation are realized as not different, still stick to dividing your day into 4 sessions or 4 practice sessions. So even though if we had realized that between actual meditation sessions, sitting formally on our cushion, going through our practice, and the post-meditation practice of going about whatever other activity are essentially one and the same, we still ought to train ourselves in the 4 sessions or meditation sessions during the day, if we have divided our day as such. We still should train ourselves in the development process meditation of individual yidam days, the deities, the approach, repetition practices which go along with these practices, with these meditations, etc. At all times, no matter how far progressed, train yourself in loving kindness and compassion. That means to say, even though your realization may be high, guard against negative thoughts, against malice, against being of a negative attitude towards others, but exchange these or replace these with kindness, with friendliness, with compassion towards others. That is to be applied as best as possible at all times. This is now practice a little bit of shamatha meditation, which will then conclude this morning's session. Let's now conclude with the dedication of merit for the sake of beings.